to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Well, thank you for coming on the show today.
It's great to join you again.
And it's cool. You've done so much since I've seen you. When you were was Measure E or Property? It was Measure E, right? That was a measure.
That back in 2020, I think, was the first iteration, or right around that time. So yeah.
During all that.
So, or 2022. So that
2022.
I worked with Nathan too.
You're working on Nathan on his campaign too, and then that went well. So wow, you've just done so much in that short period of time.
Well, we've made a couple transitions, and now I'm running for State Assembly District 8. So.
That's really cool. So who decided on that? Because you have different choices. You could run for this, you could run for that. What was it like, okay, this is the position I'm best suited for? What made you feel that?
Well, I think just everybody kind of feels the same thing when it comes to, I wasn't looking for anywhere to run. I was, from the work that I had done working with Nathan, working on local issues here, trying to solve some of these issues, I got a chance to see that a lot of the issues we get are from the state and coming out of the state. And with Jim Patterson terming out, and kind of that opportunity presenting itself, and from the work that I've been able to do, like working with Lisa Smith-Camp or Senator Shannon Grove on different policy pieces that we've been able and wanted to push, it kind of just opened itself up. And I spoke to other local leaders like Jim Patterson, who's endorsed me to replace him.
That's really awesome.
Even Sheriff Margaret Mims, from some of the work that I worked with her on the Creek Fire. Sheriff Zanoni, Lisa Smith-Camp, Senator Shannon Grove on those policy pieces. It just opened itself up to where, we know California's broken. And the issues aren't because Fresno broke it, the issues are because Sacramento broke it. So it's time to take it on right in the center of where it's at and to get in the fight so that way I can represent the amazing people here in Assembly District 8.
That is really awesome, and that's where how long have you lived in District 8?
Well, the new District 8 was just created 2 years ago.
And I actually used to live in that district. I'm sorry I don't live there now.
Well,
but
it's shifted.
My mom does, so she's going to vote.
Yeah. Redistricting happened in 2022.
Right.
So the lines are brand new, so everybody's only lived in it for 2 years. But I've been in this area I've lived in the Central Valley my whole life.
Right.
So, I bounced around a little bit too when I was growing up, but predominantly I grew up in the north part of the valley, originally from North Highlands, California, and then moved here to play football at Fresno State. And so when I played football at Fresno State, I planted my roots here and I'm not going anywhere else.
I know, and you've done so much for Fresno State. I think everyone sees that support that you've given your alma mater.
It's mainly because it changed my life. It gave me the opportunity. My mom immigrated here from the island of Tonga. My dad was a disabled veteran. We grew up in low-income housing in one of the roughest areas in that northern portion. And the opportunity to come and play football here wasn't just an opportunity to just play football, it was an opportunity to graduate. And I've always seen that education was going to be the greatest equalizer because football doesn't last forever, but degrees do. And I quickly realized while I was there that there are NFL guys and there are education guys. And I fit the education mold because there were 17-year-olds benching 500 pounds. They were going to the NFL and I wasn't one of those. And so if they're taking my knees, I'm taking as many degrees as possible. And I got my degree in political science, criminology, a legal studies certificate. I got my master's in business and I started my own business prior to even finishing at Fresno State. And so,
what was your business that you started?
I work in real estate focusing on first-time home buyers and veterans.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
So in teaching people who grew up just like me, generational renters who are in those communities, never thought that they could buy a house, and helping them get on programs, like the WISH program was one of them that I had helped through Union Bank. It was mainly focused on first-time home buyers and veterans because I come from a community that was very disadvantaged and my father was a veteran. And I wanted to teach people to break generational poverty simply through home ownership. It's the easiest way to do it in America. And so that was when I was doing my master's. I just had seen that. And so I've helped over 60 of my friends and family become homeowners. I've done over $20 million in sales. But just focusing on trying to just pull them out of that.
Because there are a lot of programs available people just don't know about.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really
and that's
awesome.
what I want to do. I mean, veterans, you have zero down payment on it. You just have to cover, pesticides and a couple there's other grant programs out there that really do help, like that Union Bank WISH program that I had helped a friend. I mean, he bought a house with $5,000 out of his pocket, and this is in 2020. And now that house that he got for $280,000 is worth over $500,000 now, just simply from appreciation value.
It's less than I put down in my car.
Mm-hmm.
That's really impressive.
And he actually ended up being the national commercial for Union Bank, because even on that, I actually helped him set up his proposal, and he proposed to his then girlfriend, now wife, and mother to his son.
That is so cool.
And so that he became a commercial for Union Bank now.
That is so awesome. And are you still doing that?
I still do it. I still do it on not as large as I used to do it, mainly because, again, the average home price in California now is $900,000. So it was an unfortunate part, but I had seen this coming.
So back when you were doing it, it wasn't as bad.
Exactly.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
In Sacramento area, he bought that house for $280,000. In less than 5 years, it has appreciated to over $500,000 in value. Mainly because there's such a supply stranglehold that is on this area. It takes too long to build homes. Permitting and entitlements make up more than 40% of all of the costs to just build homes. And again, the average home price in California is $900,000, but in the Central Valley, we're 50% of that. We're right around $500,000 to $400,000. And so everybody who's on the Bay Area and LA, they're looking at their $900,000 to plus $1 million 1,200 square foot house, saying like, I'll just sell this, I'll move inward into Sacramento, Modesto, Merced, Fresno, those areas, because I can get a 2,600 square foot house for $600,000. And so that really puts a bottleneck on the supply here, because even to us here in the Central Valley, these are the highest home prices we've ever seen.
It's daunting to get a $500,000 home.
But these are the lowest
that
prices
they've ever seen.
And I told my friends and family, you will either buy now or you'll never be able to get that opportunity again. And so that's why I forced them. I forced them to do it. My parents included, myself, my sister. You will buy now or else we'll never be able to buy. And I'm glad that I was able to do that and really put us in a better position.
Well, that's really awesome. I think that's so awesome, because now you can kind of take that mindset that you had with that and you apply it to your platform here, because that's very aggressive. You're like, you made your loved ones, do what you saw was right, and that's pretty much what you're going to do if you win.
But it's mainly getting back to the basics, and everybody's always standing on political ideologies, but what does the average person want? They want to go home, go to work, drink a beer, hang out with their family, make sure their kids go to a good school, and be left alone. And home ownership's part of that same American dream, but when it's $900,000 and less than 15% of Californians can afford the average home, that means the American dream is gone and we're living the California nightmare. And we've got to get back to just getting back to the basics and addressing those issues. What can we do to leave people alone so that they can take care of their own family? Government's trying to come in and solve everything. It's really just making it more messy. I want to go up there and actually just bring it back down to the basics. We can't solve the world's issues, but we can solve California's. Wow,
no, that's very true. And so what is it that... how feasible is that to really go and make those things happen in Sacramento? Because it hasn't been happening for a long time. No one's listening to our Central Valley leaders. So what are you going to do to make that happen?
So it's one of the areas that I had tested, because I know the position. I'm a Republican, and in the Republican Assembly, there are 80 seats available. 17 out of the 80 are held by Republicans. We're in a super minority on that part, which technically means that we're more of an advisory board than we are actually legislators. And realistically, what I've worked on, and what I worked on with Senator Shannon Grove, who's currently in the Senate right now, is, and this was an area that I tested to see if this would work, she presented a bill that would make child sex trafficking a felony and a strikeable offense in California on the same level as arson, robbery, and burglary. That should be a bill that everybody agrees on.
You would think.
You would think. But when she did that last year, she presented it. It passed the Senate, but then went to the California Public Safety Committee. And in the Public Safety Committee, the committee got up and walked out because they weren't going to vote no, but they were going to let it die because it didn't have enough votes. And that was their way, because they said this, and they used this argument that it disproportionately puts black and brown people in prison. Well, I asked them the same question. It disproportionately saves black and brown victims, like people that I grew up with.
Like your mom.
In my family.
Like that, yeah. Like
but
people
I have somebody that I know, she was 14 years old and she was trafficked. And I grew up in one of the #1 areas of trafficking in California.
Wow.
On one of the worst streets in California, Watt Avenue. And I saw it. I went to high school with people who went through
Wow.
it. And for the Public Safety Committee to get up and walk out and not make child sex trafficking a strike, that shows you the type of leadership. And if they have made child sex trafficking arguable, how can they solve the insurance crisis? How can they solve the cost of living? How can they solve the utilities? How can they solve even taking on crime when we can't even protect kids? That's the leadership that we have today. And so, but I wasn't going to allow that to be enough. And so what we did was I modernized the message. I took those same images and the screenshots and the way that they had walked out, and I went on and I used different marketing techniques. My master's in business is really focused on marketing. And then all I said was all we wanted to do was make child sex trafficking the same level as arson, robbery, and burglary, and we could not get that done. That video got about 4 million views, and 90,000 people wrote to the governor's office, and he forced it to the floor. And then it finally passed unanimously. But then I said, why did it have to go through that? Why did it have to
Why
go through
did
that?
it?
Exactly. And that's the next thing. That's what I plan on doing, especially being in this position. Yes, a lot of people have not listened to us, but California is in such a bad position right now. The opportunity is there to just come and say, can you give us a shot? Can you give us a shot that we can manage this state better than what it's currently in today?
No, I agree, but as I said, it's so challenging because I feel like a lot of our leaders do not get listened in Sacramento, especially with all of our farming issues. I feel like they come here and they're just not taking it seriously. What do you plan to do for farmers?
Well, that's one of the things. So I went to Iowa earlier this year in January, and I was actually invited to go speak to legislators across the nation, and they asked me one question. They said, is California really that bad? And I told them, I was like, we're the 5th largest economy in the world, and yet we have rolling blackouts. Like, that should bother everybody. That the power, it gets too hot outside, and the power shuts off because we have a scarcity issue on our power. My family's from the island of Tonga. They have rolling blackouts, and they're not even in the top 50 when it comes to economies, and California is 5th, right behind Germany, and yet we're rationing energy. That should bother everybody. Not only that, the food costs in Iowa were cheaper than in California, and it was negative 30 degrees outside in Iowa.
And we grow all the food.
And we grow all of the food. If you look at it from an ag value right here in the Central Valley, if you take in Kern County, Tulare County, Fresno County, throw in Madera and Kings as well, we have more of an economic value here when it comes to ag than anywhere else in the world.
Right.
And yet we look at Ukraine, and Ukraine is seen as such a viable national security that we've spent over $450 billion, multiple times, to protect Ukraine because it's the breadbasket of Europe. The breadbasket of America is right here in the Central Valley, and yet we're demonizing farmers? It doesn't make sense to me. We are artificially limiting supply, and we've got to break that stranglehold. And I've done this by rewording a lot of these messaging that people have weaponized this version of language. And not only that, it's like a marketing scheme on that side that is really pushed. And I've asked the same question for these groups. You know, I don't understand how Google or different businesses can get the keys to the city when they add in drip irrigation and put in low water trees and services for green space. And yet farmers maintain more green space than anywhere else in the world, and they're the #1 carbon capture technology industry because they plant forest, and yet they maintain and they invented drip irrigation. Why are farmers demonized for it, but yet all of these technology companies, cities can get different grants, but we're demonizing the people who do the greatest good, feeding people? It doesn't make sense to me, and so I'm trying to be a part of that new message that actually stands up for farmers and goes and says, hey, I want the farmers to go and farm. I'll go set up the fight in Sacramento.
No, that's very true, and I love that you actually did get things passed and help get things passed in here. So it shows that you've already done it. You already have history of it, so you can keep it going. What are some of the things that really concern you right now that is just not being done that you want to do? I mean, you mentioned so many of them.
I know. I always drop a lot, and sometimes it sounds like doom and gloom, but I love this area, and I don't understand why there is so much complacency. And complacency, and I mean, just think about it. The American Revolution started when there was a 2% tax on an English breakfast drink. And yet, where are our amenities? California is the largest taxed state in the entire nation, but do we have the nicest roads? Do we have the nicest infrastructure? Our elected officials can't even keep the lights on. And I think if you can't keep the lights on as an elected official, you shouldn't be able to keep your job, because we're in that much of an artificial portion of scarcity. And it's legislation and regulation that has driven us to this point where, keeping the lights on for me and making sure that our utility costs and insurance costs are vital. Because earlier this year, my father passed away, and I've had to take care of my family back home and myself here.
I'm so sorry that happened. By the way, I saw that my father passed away too when I was young in a tractor accident. Speaking of farming, on that, I hate to bring it up a tangent. What was that with your opponent and the picture? I didn't really hear what had happened. It's an unfortunate thing about politics and what we see today. The other individual has resorted to, he's a former congressman, and yet now they're resorting to name calling, and unfortunately used an image from a video memorial that I did for my father, just basically saying thank you to everybody that had prayed for my family, and used that in a negative mailer and dropped it on my father's first heavenly birthday away from us. And how could that be negative, though? I didn't really see the whole thing. I think it was kind of blurred out or whatever. But
I blurred it out.
Oh, okay.
I blurred it out just because I don't.
Why put that back out there? Okay,
Yeah,
but it was, okay.
There's no need to share his information.
Okay,
or
so
whatever
just
he's trying to
something
make
negative
up.
for no reason. Okay,
It's the issue of it. There's should be a level of decorum, I would say, that I would never take an image from somebody who attended a funeral and use that in a negative
Right,
manner.
right, okay.
I'd never take an image that was in a dedication video for somebody else, but unfortunately they did.
Okay.
And they used that because I looked sad and depressed.
Oh, man.
To create that, but not only that, it was strategically targeted to land on my father's birthday, because that image and memorial actually included my father's birthday. But that's just because, if that's the character matters, I believe so. And we've lost that a lot in this current iteration of the political sphere. And I just want to go back. While I said it there, everything that he's done, every single negative that he's put out, he hasn't put out his own plan. And it's clear to see that he is running against me, and I am running for California. And there are two fundamental differences between that, and I just hope people see through that.
Well, that's great if that's the most negative thing someone could come up with you, is an image like that.
Well,
right?
Well, not only that, it wasn't just a negative. He added a bunch of, saying that
jargons, yeah.
Exactly. Political slogans and
reaching.
He's making up all this stuff, and you could see it in that same video that we did. He's telling everybody that I can't be effective, and then he's also telling everybody that I can, raise taxes and hurt Californians.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You can't have
contradictions.
You can't have it both ways, that I can't do anything, and then I'm also taxing everybody. And that's the main argument that they're making. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not an elected official. I've never been an elected official before. But
you've gotten so much done as a non-elected official. So a lot more than some elected officials have. So that's...
Well, and that's all I ask people is that the other individual in this race, he's running, and he ran for office back in 1988, and he was in office in Congress since 1994, all the way to 2010, and he was running on those same issues back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and now he's coming back to solve those same issues that when he was in power and was in the majority. If you couldn't fix it then, how can you fix it now?
And they're worse now. They weren't even as bad back then either.
Exactly. And if your track record, and you left it, and I look at this from a Boy Scout point of view, you always leave it better than you left it. Well, I'm sorry, he left it in shambles, and now are we recycling? And playing political insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results.
That's true, and you did such a good debate. If anyone needs to watch it, it's on Facebook still. That's really good. And so, no, I love what you stand for. I love your platform. And so we can only vote for you if we're in District 8, which, can you say what that covers again?
Yes, so it's a very large district, and so it includes 7 counties. It's Fresno, Madera, and it's North Fresno, all of Clovis, and then Eastern Fresno County. So if you're in basically District 2 and District 5 of the Fresno County Board of Supervisors district, basically if you're, excuse me, Fig Garden North in the Fresno area, all the way to Sierra Sky Park. And,
okay.
And if you're in city of Clovis, if anywhere in the city of Clovis, and anywhere really east
I
of
noticed that, yeah.
You want to go east of the 168 and north of the 180. You're in the district, and then it goes all the way up to Calaveras County. So it's North Fresno, Madera, eastern Madera County, this side of the 99, not the city of Madera, not the city of Chowchilla. And then you go Mariposa, Tuolumne, eastern Calaveras County, all of Mono, and all of Inyo. So I border the entrance into Las Vegas, and I go all the way up to the Calaveras-Amador border. And it's a very, very, very large district, and we've been working it, and I've been showing up everywhere and anywhere.
And you're so great at responding. I know you're very accessible, social media. Everyone needs to follow you. And where's the best place for people to look? Website, Facebook, Instagram?
Well, I've got a very unique last name. And so,
That's true.
So I'm the only one in this area. They can find it at, Tangipa, which the easiest way to spell it is Tang IPA, and they can find everything that I'm about and how we're going to take on the cost of living, how we're going to lower crime. I am an honorary co-chair for Prop 36, which fixed Prop 47 and ends the smash and grabs, and also how.
You said you were a victim of it too. Same. I mean, it's just it's out of control.
It is.
Where did that happen for you?
It was in Clovis. Yeah.
Oh my
I was in Clovis. There was a group of criminals who had come from the Bay Area that were targeting neighborhoods that feel safe, smashing their windows and taking whatever was available right there. And by doing that, they actually stole my AirPods, and I tracked them. And I actually caught them with Clovis PD. So, because I actually had seen a video of a girlfriend, kind of a crazy girlfriend, that would give all of the guys that she was dating, she'd give them AirPods because she could track the AirPods because she'd sync it with her Apple account.
That is awesome.
And I saw that video the night before. And then when I woke up at 4:50 in the morning because my truck alarm was going off, I'd seen that they stole my AirPods, and we caught them off of Shepherd and Temperance. Right in front of the fire station.
I love that.
Right there.
They messed with the wrong person.
Yep.
That was amazing.
But the issue was they were out within 24 hours. Because even though they broke into 15 other vehicles, it's all individual crimes. And so that's exactly what Prop 36 does. And I encourage everybody, because the mission matters more than just my campaign as well.
Right.
Prop 36 will fix California's smash and grab problems, because repeat offenders will then be charged with the felony again. It also makes sure that we're adding additional penalties to fentanyl dealers. That if you're openly dealing fentanyl and you know you are, you can be charged with murder on the second time that you're caught. And the third thing is it gives our tools back to the DAs and our sheriffs to handle drug and homeless people and people who are heavily addicted. It allows mandatory treatment programs for these people who are addicted to drugs. And again, that's very personal to me because I have family members of mine that were heavily addicted, and the only thing that saved their lives was they actually almost died, and they needed to be taken away and put in the hospital and locked away from it because they cannot make the decision for themselves. They are not there, and we need to empower our DAs and sheriffs again. And they can find all the information on my website for David Tangipa for Assembly. So.
Okay, everyone go on that. I think we all are connected to somebody that's OD'd on that or something, and so we really got to get serious about it. What about the crime with the whole, if it's not a felony, if it's under $900, what is that still in Prop 36?
Yeah, 36 fixed that. So that was Prop 47 was the one that made it a $950 threshold for what's a felony and what's a misdemeanor. This changes that language. So technically that still remains. So if you steal under $950, it's a misdemeanor, but on your second robbery misdemeanor, you can be charged with a felony.
Okay.
So it doesn't. It changes that to where you can't just have, you can't just steal 900
all these
today,
individual,
900 today,
exactly.
900 today, 900 today. It gives you get one strike. And the second one, the DAs can now charge you with a felony again.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming and talking to us. This was so great.
Of course. Anytime. I'll be back, and hopefully I can come back as your next assemblyman.
I can't wait. Thank you.
Of course.
thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to see where all of the magic happens.
We try to make magic happen here.
Yes, and you do.
Well, speaking of magic, you're making a lot of magic happen of your own. So what type of attorney are you?
Right now I'm working in civil litigation, but my dream is to get back to the district attorney's office and work over there.
Right on.
Yeah.
And then you have a totally different job now. Now you have a part-time job. That's a full-time part-time job. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's kind of like my side gig and hobby.
It's definitely a side hustle for sure.
I've put on my other hat as my fiance's supporter, Nick Richardson. He's running for Fresno City Council. So the time that I'm not at work, we're definitely getting in the community and doing everything we can to, promote his message.
And I love that you're doing that, because sometimes like spouses, girlfriends, fiancés, they don't get involved. But it's like you should, because they're married to that job. You're marrying them. It's you have to be part of it. So what have you learned in this experience?
Well, I've learned a lot, so I don't even know where to start. But Nick has never done anything like this before. We met in elementary school at Copper Hills in District 6, and we grew up in the district together. He eventually left and went to VMI, Virginia Military Institute, and then commissioned as an officer in the Marines. Recently, he was promoted to major, so we're really excited about that. So the Marines took him all over the world. I stayed here locally, and I went to Fresno State and San Joaquin College of Law. And then life kind of had to kick us in our rear ends and prepare each other for each other. And when he got back, he saw this need on Fresno City Council, and that we were losing our only veteran voice because Gary Bredefeld's turning out and running for county supervisor. And he sat me down and he said, honey, I see this need. I see this need in this community. This is where we grew up. Are you in? Because I know it's going to take a lot of sacrifice from the both of us. And I said, absolutely, honey. You supported me through law school and taking the bar exam. It's your turn. Let's put all of our time, effort, and energy into doing this.
Oh my goodness. You had no idea, though.
I had no idea. Did you think that I would run down 3 pairs of running shoes to where there's no tread left? It looks like he hooked me to the back of a car and kind of just dragged me along. But we've gone to all 25,000 houses or so in the district 2 times. We're doing our 3rd round currently. We get friends and family on the weekend to walk with us. On Saturday, we went to over 1,700 houses. So it's a lot of time in the community, going to every single door, because these are our neighbors. They're the people we grew up with, went to school with, our friends' kids. It's people that we've known for a very long time in this community. And we want to represent them, and Nick wants to be that voice and is putting in the time and effort to learn what the problems are and how he can help people. And it just is very endearing to my heart seeing that, and how can I not support his dream, right?
Right, and I'm just so baffled by how you guys have really been doing this on a budget. I've never even heard of anything like this, but I think that Nick and you guys are so well likable that you got so many people to support and help and volunteer for free, me included, because it's just that we just really believe in the mission. So how do you feel about that? Like when people are like, oh, that's, you guys don't have these big deep pockets that everyone's just, on these big gala dinners. I'm sure you hear that. So what do you say about all that?
Well, I think you can relate, but I love a good deal on anything. I don't want to pay full price for anything if I don't have to, right? But at the end of the day, this is the epitome of a grassroots operation. Most of the things that have been done in this campaign has been done from our apartment living room. We've designed flyers, Nick designed the flyers, did all of the walking maps himself, and we've just relied on our friends and our family in the community to help spread our message. Because we're struggling, we know our friends are struggling, our neighbors are struggling with the cost of everything these days. And if we have the time, effort, and energy where we can go door to door and get the message out without spending thousands of dollars that could be used for better purposes on marketing, why wouldn't we do that? He's a stinking Marine, We're going to go boots to the ground and get all of our friends and family that we've called the brigade together and go out and do that. And it's been successful, and that's awesome to see that people can break into politics or break into this area of government without needing to have thousands and thousands of dollars supporting them. And this cycle, we're seeing a lot of new blood, and it's really exciting. I believe you had David on your show, and there's a lot of people here locally that are seeing a need and going for it, and we need younger people involved in politics.
They from what I've seen, just a little bit I've seen, they definitely work harder. They have this energy. As you get older, so you get a little complacent in things, especially if you've been doing things over and over and over. You're just not working. You're just not putting it. I mean, that's just how life is at anything that you've been doing forever and ever. And so it's like it really is good to see the energy and people getting involved and moving and making things happen. It's reinvigorating all of us to get excited about stuff.
Yeah, and I'm the type of person where I'm not going to sit back and complain about something if there's something that can be done about it. And Nick's very similar in that sense. So we've got to get involved in local government. Local government is super important. Federal level is important as well, but making sure that as the generations proceed, that we still have that representation and that new skill set and that difference of, where they grew up in their environment and their life experiences. I think that is something that people are hungry for. And we're seeing a good movement coming to that, and that's exciting.
Well, change starts in your community.
Right.
So I love what you guys are doing. I know there's been weird backlash. You brought up the apartment thing. It was so wild to me. Anybody who has not seen the debate, you can see it on my Facebook.
Check it out.
But I think he was bashing, and I saw him. It was because Nick chose to serve in the Marines. It's not a great paid position, as you all know. And he actually it's kind of choosing a pay cut when you can go here, and you're like, no, I'm going to serve. I'm going to do. You're taking the time away, all the time I take away from you, all of your long distance to go and do that. Yeah. You chose to become a lawyer, student loans, all that. You guys are in that place that so many of people in District 6, so many of us are in that space where you're having your starter home or you're starting over. A lot of people get divorced and they, one spouse they sell it, they have to move in different houses. So you're in that great space where most people in District 6, a lot of people are. Yeah. And he was kind of making fun of it, I'm a homeowner and I pay property taxes. I'm like, well, you should. You've been in your job career for a while. You're established, but this man chose to go serve his country. This woman chose to further. It was wild to me.
Yeah, it was wild to me as well. And something I adore about Nick and I love about him is he's the type of guy that does things the right way. And, we have to be the bigger person in a lot of the rooms. You asked me earlier some things that I've learned since all of this started over 600 days ago now, not that I'm counting. But I've noticed that it's actually really petty. It's very high school politics is. It's crazy. And some of the things that are thrown between any candidate in any race is kind of a distraction, I think, and a disservice to the voters, because what matters is what you're going to do for the voters. So, for example, when people said that our engagement was a publicity stunt for the campaign and it was, just for this and for optics, I'm like, did our parents plan this in 2nd and 3rd grade and they haven't told us about it? They've said he was stolen valor. In the debate that you watched, his opponent brought up changing diapers, and he's the oldest of 5 siblings, so he's changed plenty of diapers, but that doesn't make him specifically qualified for city council. When it comes to the property taxes, etc., there are so many people, as you said, that are our age that are finding it impossible with the cost of living to actually buy our first home. That is our goal. After this campaign, plan a wedding, buy a house, and start having babies. I'm sorry if I'm not doing it on the proper timeline, as some people would wish for my life, but I'm working on it, and we're having a good time as we're doing it. So.
Well, yeah, it was really funny. They put on also, my focus is family, and, I'm the one married and kids. But, I really have not seen his wife around, or I have not seen the support. And every weekend, I can't not see you and, Nick's dad, Nick's cousin. He has, an Armenian family or something, because they just keep coming. There's so many. I see his family all the time. I don't see the other man's family at all. So I'm just kind of and I love, like I said, it's a hands-on, it's like a 2-person effort. So I love that you're his right-hand man.
Well, he's my best friend, and 99% of the time, I want to just hang out with him all the time. So if we're doing some fun stuff and meeting new people and doing good things for the community, whether it's serving at the Poverello house or doing a trash pickup that we've orchestrated for a community, or just getting out there, it's fun. I enjoy it. And of course I want to hang out with him, and seeing his heart every single day and how much time and effort and energy he's put into this has made me fall in love with him even more. And I didn't know how that was possible, but I don't know. It's just been a good, interesting experience. And I think we'll have enough to write a book by the end of this too.
Well, and what really was surprising too about the debate, and I've heard him say off of it, he really knows the district by street, the breakdown of he's like, well, these people need this in this area, these people need this in this area. And I was telling my hairdresser today, she was like, oh my gosh, she goes, I was always hoping someone would come to my door because they really need to make them speed bumps right here. They have them on that side. I don't know why they don't have them on this side. And so it's insane. I mean, he really has everything memorized about what each person needs. And I've never even heard of that.
Well, and fun little anecdote here, when he first announced in January of 2023, one of the first things he did was went to the county clerk's office and got a giant printout of District 6. Since then, he has identified every place where he's put a big sign, every place where he's put a yard sign. He's broken that district from that map into neighborhoods and named them, counted every single house on that map in that section. You've seen the little map printouts.
Yeah.
He went to Google Images and counted each one out.
That's
and we
so
would
smart,
sit there and count out all the flyers, so it's easy
I
for our
could never
family.
be that tedious in my wildest imagination.
Oh, he's a Marine. He loves his acronyms and his funny phrases, and definitely his organization. But when we were walking, and at the beginning, overall, when you're not well versed in this kind of environment, there's a learning curve. So we made sure to sit down with people who have been around, who have businesses here, and all the neighbors, and talking to them at their door to see what the problems are and to learn from them. And like you said, each neighborhood, even when I'm walking and knocking on doors from him, they all have a different issue, and it can be street by street. And it just takes that attention to detail, I think, with a representative to actually make a big difference on a smaller scale.
That's definitely true. And then we also have people on the team that are not Republicans. He's a Republican, but it's not really that type of position anyway. But the fact that he has so many people of all backgrounds and beliefs and voting for him and pulling for him, that's pretty interesting. I haven't really seen that either.
Right, and that was his idea too. During the primary, people that have been in the game for a while would tell me and Nick, oh, you guys are wasting your time going to every single house.
Right.
You need to go to the registered likely voters in the primary that are Republican and ignore the rest. And Nick heard that and said, no, these are all my neighbors. If they vote, and even if they don't vote, they deserve to know who might be representing them and being their voice in city council. So we did that. And it got us through the primary. And that is just so fantastic to see. There were 4 candidates in the primary, and just from all of our blood, sweat, and tears and sneaker tread, we were able to get that message out and people on board. And there's people that have told me, have told Nick, that they've never even voted before, but he came to their door and they're registering to vote. Or people that have said they've never voted for, a Republican before. They said, you're the first Republican I'm voting for. And city council is a nonpartisan seat, of course, but it's important that you're honest with people, with who you are, but also willing to sit down and have that conversation with them, whether you agree or disagree. And that's something I admire about Nick.
It is true, because if you're going to help somebody with the issues that are most important to them, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Because if he's going to fix all these streets and these people in this neighborhood, at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I don't usually vote this way, but I can for the guy that's going to help me personally or individually.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's they haven't been able to get a new trash can, they needed a handy ride application brought to their house, or people that are begging for speed bumps, he listens and he notes that down. And like you said, he has this map in his brain of what issues every different area is dealing with in District 6. And I think that is incredibly cool. And I don't know how he has such a good memory either. He's the brains of the operation for sure.
You have a lot of brains too.
Different skill set.
That's what's really good, is that you guys do have different things to bring to the table. So when you guys have the table, it's a fully set table.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
And it is cool that he does know about every little issue, because when he says a lot of things, it's like it might be a little issue in the big scheme of things. It's very important to that person.
Right.
And they all just want to talk about policy and the big scheme of things. And it's like, no, it starts here. You have to work and so I really think you guys have that together. What do you need viewers to do that are watching that support you guys? What do you need at this point?
I think that we would love your social media presence on our social media accounts. It's Nick Richardson for District 6 on Facebook. Nick's Got My 6 on Instagram. I started to dabble with TikTok, but that's a little bit out of our plethora or my skill set as a millennial. But we do have a TikTok as well that's Nick's Got My 6. Just follow our pages, stay up to date, share it, get the word out, and also tell your friends and family about Nick if you think he's cool. I think we're going to link the debate here. I'm obviously very biased, so I recommend you watch the debate, you look into both candidates, and make your own decisions.
You should never just take somebody's word for anything.
No, absolutely not. Educated votes are the best votes.
And that was a great debate. I think, just watch that. That's all you guys need to do is watch it. Everybody says, their true feelings, and they are who they are, and it comes through when you watch them.
Yep, personalities come through, and you can assess based on that.
Do you have any social media? What if anyone needs your legal advice?
Oh, whew.
I know you have so much time for that. Wait a month before you hit her up. But do you have any?
Legal advice? That's a tough one. Well, my personal Instagram is at Kelsey_Teryn, Teryn. If you have a pressing issue, you can reach out to me. And if I'm not the right person for you, I will recommend someone that you can go to help you out with whatever you need.
Well, thank you so much. Vote. So it's what are all the platforms for Nick? It's vote.
It's on Facebook, Nick Richardson for District 6.
Nick Richardson for District 6.
Instagram is at Nick's Got My 6, and those are the two platforms that we're on the most.
Yes, everyone. So vote for Nick.
I pick Nick. I hope you do too.
I pick Nick.
Thanks, Sparkle.
Thank you so much for coming on my show today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell us about Prop 6. You're an advocate for the prop, right?
Yes.
And I've been talking to the people in Sacramento about it. And so what is the mission here?
So the mission is to stop constitutional slavery, which is basically having inmates working for the institution rather than obtaining an education or being able to take self-help groups that would help them become, better citizens in society. It allows them to deal with their trauma. It allows them to focus on the things that pertain to rehabilitation versus what the institutional need is. Inside you have to really challenge the system in order for you to be able to obtain your education, go to college, or participate in anger management classes, criminal thinking classes.
So they're not offering classes as an option?
They offer the classes. However, if you have a work schedule that conflicts with the time of the classes, then you can't go. It will knock you out of the system to allow you to attend those classes. And so with Prop 6, it's giving the person the option to be able to participate in the things that would help them rehabilitate versus being forced to work in an environment that could potentially make you worse as an inmate or continue with the criminal thinking that you came in with, because you're not doing anything that is productive.
Well, isn't working productive?
Working is productive, but the type of work that you encounter in that environment is like being something called a porter, where you would sweep the floor in a unit, you would take out the trash, you would wipe down the phones, you would dust, and it takes 15 minutes for an 8-hour shift, right? And you get paid 8 cents an hour. So I work for 15 minutes, and then for the rest of that 8-hour shift, I'm doing nothing. And so that's not productive. I think that for any inmate that is inside, or any incarcerated person that is inside, they should have the option to work in an environment that is going to benefit them and give them the skills they need once they parole. For example, if I hadn't had the opportunity to get an education and to work on myself, then I wouldn't have been able to come out and be as successful as I am, to, you know, have respect for those around me, and to like honor my freedom, because I would have still had the same negative mentality. I would have still had the same criminal mentality and not been able to have a different perspective on, you know, sharing a space in my community and respecting the space of another person.
I'm just confused. I was incarcerated, so I had a very different experience, and the jobs were very like strenuous. I mean, there was like the people that were on trash detail were very tired after their shifts, and there was like a lot of work going on. There was also school going on, and I know people were kind of doing both. I mean, I was extremely busy because I was teeing and doing stuff. So I didn't have that experience of someone just having to work 15 minutes on an 8-hour shift. I'm sorry. So is that something that was common at or some prisons and on others? I don't know.
It was common in the prison that I was at, and it also depends on your custody status, how much time you have, you know, who your supervisor is. Like, so many things come into play with that. So a person that works in PIA making teeth or sewing clothes together, they would work a full 8-hour shift and be productive.
Okay.
Right? Versus someone that is working yard crew or trash crew or being a porter in the unit, there's only so many times you can sweep the floor or take out the trash or wipe down a phone. Right? And so it just depends on where you're working in the institution and like the people that you're working for, the people that you're working with in the institution. So for some, you know, if you have a shorter amount of time, it's easier for you to get on a list to work in PIA or, you know, to work at joint venture where you get to make more money. But if you have a longer stretch of time, then you get put on a list to work the jobs that you only are doing something for 15 minutes. And so...
Oh, because they think that those are more desirable? Is that why?
Well, they think that it's almost like when you have a longer amount of time, they put you on the back burner because you're going to be there. So there's no need to give you those skills. There's no need to put you in a position where you're going to gain something to help you get out. Those positions are mostly for people that, like the PIA is mostly
I was facing a murder charge, so I had some time.
Right. I was on a life sentence.
Okay.
And so
the same.
The beginning of my time was really based around like my custody status, and then that's where my work came into. It wasn't until the end of my time where I was able to challenge the system and be able to enroll in college and apply for a program that allowed me to get a certification as a substance abuse counselor, which in turn, once I was granted parole, I was able to work as a counselor.
That's
and
awesome.
Then now I'm a director of an inpatient facility at Touchstone Recovery Center. So you know, I needed those skills to be able to come out and be successful.
But they did let you have that at the end. They did let
after I challenged them. Like I had to fight for myself to be able to get a job like that, or to be able to say, I don't want to work yard crew. I need to be able to go to college, and that's going to be a conflict. And so fighting for yourself in there as a long-termer is difficult because they don't see you as with value. And so with the Prop 6, you know, it's giving even a long-termer the option to have the opportunity to get an education, because I see it like this: regardless of my time, the amount of time that I was spending in there, I did not want to stay the same person I was when I went in.
Very true.
That's awesome. I needed something different. I needed to stimulate my mind. I needed to do something that was going to help me feel better about myself and to have confidence and not feel like this is all that there is for me. Right? And so being able to go to groups and deal with my stuff and figure out like where did I go wrong, and like what was my childhood like, and you know, what are values and beliefs and what are coping skills. being able to identify with that gave me more confidence to believe that I could do more. And then when I started college, I gained more confidence because, you
realize you are smart.
I'm smart.
Yeah,
you know
right?
what I mean? I'm like, I'm getting A's and B's.
Yeah.
Like I can do this, And so then that pushed me to apply for a job in what is called the Offender Mentor Certification Program, OMCP. And that allowed me to be a substance abuse counselor inside of the institution. And being able to help people after I committed a violent crime, that also helped me, get rid of some of the guilt and shame that I felt for my crime, because once you start to heal, you start to feel everything.
That's a great way of putting it, yeah.
And so, and then I had that remorse that needed to be there. And so once I was able to get out, I looked at the world different. I looked at people differently. I looked at responsibility and success differently. And so that's what the Proposition 6 is about. It's about helping people get to their fullest potential and believe in themselves, and then come out into society and make society feel safe. Right? Because if I come out as a criminal and I'm still doing the same things in survival mode,
right,
I'm not making my community safe. I'm not making my neighbor feel safe. I'm not making my employer or my peers at work or school or whatever feel safe. And the goal is to stop the revolving door, to get people out, to have them be productive, and they can live in the suburbs and you wouldn't even know that they had been incarcerated. Right? And so, I go around people and I tell them I was incarcerated, and they're like, when? How? You don't look like it.
Exactly.
You don't carry yourself that way. And it's like, because I chose to get an education, I chose to work on myself, and then I took the opportunity that rehabilitation is supposed to stand for. And so if we're talking about...
You're the success story.
It's
good. Hey, wear it proud.
I do my best. And so, I'm not perfect, but I feel like now as a taxpayer, if I'm paying taxes for this, I want this to be something that is actually being utilized. I want people inside to feel good about themselves like I do. I'm proud of myself for my success, but I know that it took a lot of work. And if I wasn't given that option, like if you want to work as a porter, I don't knock that. But if you want to get an education or you want to have a job that's going to give you the skills to survive out here, then you should have that option. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I like that. I really like how you really did well in the system, how you went from working that, knowing that that was something that was there that you didn't want, to having the education. Because right now I'm actually mentoring somebody that is having a problem getting a job. I would love for there to be a prop that really helps people get jobs.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you did well, but it's very hard afterwards to get that kind of job. And the thing with her is that, she had the typical life of never having, a lot of people never have an 8 to 5 that are in that situation. Some people, they grow up hustling. They're starting selling dope at 14. They're, human trafficking at a certain age. Like some people have really never had the opportunity just to have a regular part-time, even 4 hours at a fast food joint, a day. They just never had that experience. So I kind of think the working is important because at least it gives them purpose. They kind of know the structure of an 8-hour day, and then when they're done, it's like, okay, now we can watch TV, we could do that. So I kind of think it's important for some people who've never had a job. So how does the system give people a little bit of everything, where it's like we can give you a job and we can educate you, which it seems like I thought we were going in that direction. As this, like my time incarcerated, I got out in 2017. So I think you were in there more recent, or was it about the same?
I got out in 20.
Okay. Yeah, because you're mentioning COVID stuff, so I was like, okay, no one cared about wiping down phones when we were there. So I thought we were going in a more positive direction. I did see like the programs being utilized. I did get in a lot. There were like a lot of these therapy groups that I didn't do as well as you did. It was very hard for me to hear these human trafficking stories, and I heard stories that stayed with me forever. So, but they were like everyone had to share that. It was that. So I've seen a lot of great things work. So where are we going wrong? Like, what do you think the direction is? Like, where are they dropping the ball? So one, I probably had one job for 30 days prior to being incarcerated. So I didn't really know about working, right? And I think that when a person, whether they have a short term or long term, if you're going to put them as a porter, like give them
the responsibility of something that is going to be beneficial.
More fulfilling.
Yeah, more fulfilling, right? If they're going to sweep the floors and wipe the phones and take out the trash, like there has to be more to it than just that for 15 minutes, because there's only so much you can wipe and sweep. And I think that in the system, we go wrong because we're fulfilling the need of the system rather than fulfilling the need of the rehabilitation. That part is missing. So like if I work as a porter, and I keep using that as an example because it's like that's
what you had.
That's what I had, right? But if I work as a porter, like maybe 30 minutes to an hour of me being in that unit working like on my 8-hour shift, you can split my shift where I can go do a group and then I can come back, finish my job.
Makes sense, yeah.
You know what I mean? But you have to be creative in helping people. And I feel like in the system, they drop the ball because like they place you there and then you have to program. And if you don't program and then you choose to go to a group or a meeting, then you get a disciplinary action, which then takes yard, which takes phones, takes shopping, takes your boxes, right? And then that only makes the person act out more because I'm trying to go out and do something that's good for myself, and you're writing me up for choosing that. So if they were to be more creative in allowing people to, have an option of like, I got off of work today. I went to work today. I drove over here. I had the option
That's like your
to
second
come
job.
over here
Thank you.
and do something positive for other people that I enjoy, that is not on the clock, that is going to help me continue to feel good about myself and continue to push me. Like, we need those options because that's life. That's life for us out here, so it should be life for them in there. And the system is not built to be realistic. It's not a realistic lifestyle in there. Granted, like, yes, you are incarcerated, but you should also have an example of what life would be like realistically once you come into society, and not just what the institution needs for you to do in order for them to function. And so I think that part is where they drop the ball, because you're not learning the things that are going to allow you to be successful. When I got out, I didn't know how to open an account. I didn't know how to, go get my driver's license and get my California ID. Like, people in society helped me. Like, I was telling the bank teller, like, listen, I don't know how to do this. I just got out. I've been down pretty much all my life. Like, I need help. But these are skills that we could learn inside.
And programs that are available when you get out.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And resources for when you get out, like, they should be available, If I've done 20 years, I don't know anything about life that has taken place, like the touch screens, phones, and like iPhones and all that. I had a flip phone when I went in, you know what I mean? So to come out and try to have to figure that out, and now I can't live without my phone. But in the beginning, I was like, how do I even take a picture?
Right.
It's Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, like, what is that? And so, like, that's a small thing, but how do I get to the place where I can get the things that I need so that I can get a paycheck? Right. And so I think that it's just about allowing them to learn how to be an adult.
Right.
A responsible adult, accountable adult.
So I agree with everything that you're saying. I had a lot of the same struggles that you did getting out. So I agree with so much of that. But what is in the prop that it's saying they're going to do that? Because I remember, like I said, they did a lot of therapeutic classes. I was in this class called Build Your Own Prison. And it's talking about how a lot of us put ourselves in our own prison, and the mind and the mental. And I loved that. And so it's like they do teach a lot of things. They didn't teach any of the things that you just said they should have, about opening in a bank, using iPhones, all of that. So how does that prop get to that? Because I thought the prop was just either work, go to school, having options. But there was nothing in the prop that says you're going to learn the important skills that you said should be taught.
Well, the important skills would not come from the prop. The important skills would come from the format of the institution. Because if anybody has been incarcerated, the inmates run the institution. The inmates create the organizations. The inmates, put in proposals for certain groups and classes. Now, the state could offer classes like how they offer plan ops and all those different vocational programs, they could offer those classes that would allow people to learn those skills. Like if they know you're about to get out or parole within 6 months, then they can put you in those classes so that you have the awareness of what you're about to step into. But the prop is just allowing, like opening the door for people to be able to participate in those things and not have to fight for, do I have to go work in a place that is not going to help me when I get out, or do I get to choose and have the option of, participating in these groups and these events that take place that will help me. But the responsibility is on the state for them to create these programs.
I agree with all of that, but we are talking about the props. That's where I was trying to get it back into that. I know it takes, the average habit takes about 60 days to form, 30 to 60 days to form a habit. So that's why I was thinking that work as well as the school was important. How can we make sure that inmates get that well-rounded where they are working and going to school? Because if they're only going to school, they're never really going to learn how to work. How can we assure that they can get all of those skills if it's just a choice?
Proposition 6 is not stopping you from working. It's not going to stop you.
But it gives you a choice.
It gives you a choice, but it also will it opens the door for people to be able to go to work. If they have a group that they want to participate in, they can participate in that group and still keep their job. It's not telling them you can't go to the group at all because you have a job. And so that's what the Proposition 6 is about. Okay. It's giving them more options, not just this is what it is and this is what you have to do because this is what the institution requires. It opens the door for people to have both, and to give them, the opportunity to do something that's good for themselves without fear of a disciplinary action. It doesn't stop them from learning the skills of working. It just gives them more options to be able to learn more skills and learn about themselves.
Awesome. So where do people go to learn more about the prop? Is there a website that everybody can go to find out more?
There is websites, and then they have all types of information online about the prop.
You just Google Prop 6 and you'll find it?
And you'll find it. And, so far, I personally don't watch too much TV, but I'm sure that it's about to be all over TV and because, the voting polls are coming up. But there's definitely information online that they can go to, look it up. You look up Proposition 6. I definitely believe in the Proposition 6 because, I have been affected by it, but I'm advocating for it because I think that everyone needs to be aware of what is needed in order for us all, inside and outside, to work together and be supportive of each other.
And I know, what was the deal with the money? I think I read somewhere on it said they weren't sure about how that would cost taxpayers money. I know that's $1.8 million has been spent already for the bill. Some privately funded groups, some not. I know ACLU is behind it. Do you know, but it said it's undetermined about if it would cost money to make this prop enact. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know too much about the financial part.
People always ask me about that. Taxpayers are like, well, how much is it costing us? And I don't know how to give that information. That's why I was wondering if you knew any, because I couldn't find a whole lot on that. It said,
I don't know much about the money, but I personally, I feel like this. If I'm putting if I have to pay taxes every year, right, and I'm putting money towards something that's realistically not happening, but I'm putting my money towards it, then what is the difference between me putting my money towards a proposition that if it passes, it will go into effect and it will help people and it will save lives and it will make our community safer? I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with paying my taxes and my money's going into institutions and they're saying one thing on paper and then it's not happening inside. And so then we're releasing people to commit more crimes and to basically terrorize our neighborhoods.
Well, my problem is it's still not really a great solution, because you've come a long way, you did all your thing, you learned everything, but you still didn't learn everything. So even if people are choosing, I'm going to work, I'm going to go to school, they're not really learning all the things they do need to learn to be a productive human being outside.
Well, I think that, like I said earlier, with the confidence, like if I once I was able to identify, like, I am smart. I do have the ability to hold a job. I do have the ability to budget and to have more self-control and not be impulsive. Like, I learned those things from participating in the things inside, which then in turn allowed me to come out here and be willing to learn how to do the things in society. Because if we're being honest, a lot of people in society don't know how to do those things. A lot of people in society don't know how to be successful, or, what to do when life shows up for them.
Right.
Right? If I had someone that, like, their car broke down and they're like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, do you have insurance? Yes. Do you have AAA? Yeah, call AAA. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they have been out, they've never been inside.
Right.
And so when we look at what we're trying to gain with the institution, and like the pros and cons of it, and like what we don't know still when we come out, realistically, people in society don't know either. And so it's all about the willingness to learn and to, as an individual,
right? Like,
what do you want for yourself? But if we can,
building your own prison,
if we can, like, start inside,
right?
Because the change is not going to happen because you got released. Like, the change has to happen inside. So if we can start inside, once they come out, then they still have that willingness to want to learn, to want to be better, and to, like, see themselves become more successful. And I didn't do my time easy, by far. I did not do my time easy. I was out of control. So but it wasn't until I started to make the changes that I saw myself differently. And so I think I feel like with the proposition, it's not going to be perfect. Nothing that changes is going to be perfect, but it's a start. It's something that will help our community.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you have a personal social media or, like, email you can give out? People have any questions, like, because you're so inspirational, and I mean, if anyone had any help about anything, do you have anything that you're willing to give out there?
My name is Yannick Ortega on Instagram and Facebook.
So they could DM you?
You can DM me.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I feel like you have so much to offer.
No, it's fine. Where I work, I talk to people. I want to build people up every day. And so, like, if I can do that with anyone, I'm really open to it, because I know how it is.
Thank you so much for coming on my show today.
Thank you for having me.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh, I must confess, dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend.
It's a